All right, folks, I'm joined with Ryan Hurst from GMB Fitness. And Ryan is back to share some ideas again on training and principles. So today, me and Ryan actually met in Madrid a few weeks back, which was awesome to catch up with him. And
Yeah,
he
it
was
was
going through
cool.
some, yeah, and he shared some really cool ideas. It's actually principles that he wrote for his kids, but I thought it'd be really cool for him to share some of these principles with everyone today. So, do you want to jump in, mate, with I guess why you started this as an idea and what sort of things you've come up with and where they came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So this started actually a couple of years. Over 3 years ago, uh, we were looking at moving to the United States. And as a matter of fact, 2 months before COVID hit, we had applied for my wife's visa and we're planning on that was January of 2020. And we're like, hey, we could move over in the summer. And then COVID hit, and then we were stuck for like 3 years. And so during that time, though, I wanted my kids to feel confident about being in the United States. And there's so many things that I wrote out for them, gave examples, and because, culture is just so different. And what it turned out to be, and something I'm still refining for them, coming down to just three main things. And that's looking at posture, breath, and mindset. And so many things to come out of this, but really the main things that we're looking at is without having one of those in check, everything else falls away. And so by posture, just kind of break this down. I'm not saying that there should be a single posture, a single way of standing, sitting, or something like that. It's what is the posture that you need in order to accomplish the task that you're after. And one big thing that came about was actually my son. So when we moved over here in November, pardon me, the end of October of last year, he had zero confidence. And the reason that I am really focusing on these three was, again, I had a lot of other stuff that I wrote, but I whittled it down to these three because my son needed that the most at that time. Zero confidence. You could tell that he was, slouched over. He kept his head down. And what happened is that mentally he wasn't in a good place. So this is the mind frame, right? Well, by just having him say, "Hey man, listen, let's just stand up straight for me. Just stand up straight." It wasn't that is the best posture, but at the time that was the best posture for him. And the reason why is that it was helping him to breathe better. And by simply standing up and opening himself up, being proud, just be proud, his mindset actually shifted. And so, we have a phrase in English, chin up, chin up. Well, if you really think about where that kind of comes from and why we say that is we're actually opening ourselves up and we're actually opening the chest up, allowing ourselves to actually breathe rather than compressing ourselves. And by doing this, this can help to change our mindset. And so this has really been the focus, not just for him, but for a lot of the stuff that I've been looking at recently. And as a matter of fact, this past weekend, I taught a seminar, and this is all I talked about for my portion of the seminar, and that is posture, breath, and mindset. And what I did was I used various movement patterns to show that we could be open or closed. And so, depending on that, your breathing is going to change. And it also changes the way that you actually approach certain problems, if you will. And by problem, I don't mean bad things, I mean challenges. And so, ultimately, the only thing that we can control is the way that we view the world and the things that happen around us. And if we have a closed off mindset, then nothing's going to go right for us. I'm not saying you should be positive all the time, but I am saying that you shouldn't be negative. And so if we can reframe this and say, hey, listen, these three work together. And by looking at the particular posture that's going to help us to be able to access our natural breath, then that can help put us in the right frame of mind to be able to accomplish and tackle these particular problems and challenges that arise. And so, once again, in the seminar, what I did was looked at getting in and out of certain positions and simply bringing awareness to our posture. And so, that's the first thing that we're after is bringing awareness to what's going on. And, GMB, we talk about this all the time. And so, by putting ourselves into particular positions and really truly stopping in those positions, we can say, okay, what's going on in here? And so when we look at posture, the reason for posture is that we want to create a good base in which we can create a solid structure so that we can put our body into alignment. And so that's why this posture is so important. And if you have a lot of things to think about when you're doing that, that can be difficult to do. And so when I was working with everyone, what I would do is give them a single cue. Now, that cue then is the mindset because it gives you a task, a single thing to focus on that your mind goes to so that you're able to bring better awareness to what you're doing. And in this case, focus on your posture. And then actually the last thing that we do then is focus on how they were breathing. How are you breathing? You can do it in different order, but what I was doing again is first is saying, hey, listen, we're going to look at this posture. First, just be aware. Then I'm going to give you a cue, which is a task to focus on when you're performing the movement in order to get you into the right mind frame. So then as you're doing it and getting more comfortable with that movement, you can then incorporate natural breathing patterns to that, which would then further enhance your posture and your mind frame. And in this case, make the movements more enjoyable. And to the point where you're like, oh, wow, I can do this. In the beginning, I maybe thought I couldn't do it as well as I'm doing it right now. And this is great. And so there really changes everything is what we're after. And so I've been doing this with my martial art forever, you know, and so now it's just been a matter of, okay, those 3 years ago when I started writing this book, if you will, this manual for my kids, the common theme in there was it always comes back to the posture, breath, and the mindset, and how those all work together in order to help you to basically do whatever you want. And without one of those, then it's going to be difficult to move forward.
Yeah, it's really funny. I couldn't remember exactly the principles when we talked in Spain, but I remember they were great. But I was talking to, do you know Steve Cotter, the
Mm.
kettlebell guy?
Steve and I are friends. Yes. And
Dude, I was
yeah,
thinking, I was like, if you're not friends, you need to talk because like I
yeah.
was like, you're very similar. Because he said posture, breath, and gait was his kind of base, but
Oh,
then it was like a skill, focus on the skill, and then
right.
posture, breath, and gait are like the three kind of things you should be thinking about. So it was just like
Gotcha.
super similar. But I was thinking you guys must have crossed paths over the
Ah,
years.
well, the big thing for me, to be honest, is this isn't anything new. This is actually from my Zen Buddhism practice for sitting. And so all those years ago, when I was first introduced to Zen, back when I was doing Kendo, my very, very first time I was in Japan when I was 19, I think it was 19 or 20. This is what they have you focus on is getting into the proper sitting posture to focus on your breath so that you can then bring clarity to the mind. And so really, I mean, I'm not saying that, hey, everybody, we're doing Zen Buddhism, but really, if you look at anything, that's kind of where this focuses around. And so that mindset to me is extremely important. Like so important for being able to accomplish or move past anything. And like I said, it's it's a matter of focusing on what you can do, but bringing awareness and understanding of that particular task to move you forward. And so the posture and the breath part, the breathing part of that just fits in naturally when you're doing that. And an example I was giving was imagine someone on top of you crushing you if you're grappling. Um, you can absolutely lose it and just think, oh my goodness, like the world is done. Okay. But if you can get yourself to where you can get into a better position, posture, so that you can just start to breathe a little bit better. And then your mind changes and it helps you to be able to find how to get out of that situation. And really, that's all we're after is looking at anything in terms of that. Of what am I doing right now? How am I doing it? And am I doing it in the most efficient way? And the most efficient way is always going to be with a positive mindset. um yeah, and the older I get, just the more I realize just how important that truly is.
I think that that would be a cool. Like, would you recommend just even just walking around, just thinking about that, like from a
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, the thing of it is too, like, doing things that you already do, walking, just like you said. If you are capable of walking, if you have the ability to walk, and I say this because there are people out there who can't, okay, but I'm just going to use walking as an example if that's something you can do. And if it's something that you do naturally, how are you actually doing it? The majority of us don't think about that because we just do it during the day. But if you can focus on your posture, and again, I'm not saying that there is a correct posture necessarily, okay? There's just simply the posture that's going to be good for you to allow better structure so that you can have a good base and put yourself into alignment. Then you'll notice that once you bring the breath in there and focus on, I would say nasal breathing is a good place to start. If you have your mouth open, you're actually not breathing as efficiently as you could. So close your mouth. Are you able to walk with this good posture, nasal breathing, and see how that changes your mindset? And the thing of it is, too, like, don't let yourself drift off and think about all the other stuff. Try to really, really bring yourself into what you're doing. And I know I mentioned this in Buddhism earlier. I mean, that's really what Zen is about, is bringing awareness to that and trying to let go of all the other stuff that you're thinking. And I'm not trying to say that we should be meditating when you do this, but I mean, honestly, though, if you do have awareness and you're focused on that posture, the breath, and the mindset, that is meditation, and it can literally be anything. Um, yeah. And so, kind of deep stuff there, but walking, I think, is wonderful. And start with something that's so easy for you that allows you to practice bringing awareness to your posture, breath, and mindset, and then expand from there. Um, Start to load that. And by load, I don't mean literally put weight on top of you. I mean, expand the breadth of how you're doing that. Maybe when you're doing locomotion, you're on the ground crawling around, going from, the walking, which is very easy. You go maybe and try and do a bear or a monkey or something and bring that awareness. What is the posture for that particular movement you're doing? How is your breathing? Are you in tune with what's going on? What is that cue? For example, if you're doing the bear walk, the cue is hips in the air, and that's it. If you can continue to just think, okay, hips in the air, hips in the air, hips in the air, you can bring more awareness to how you're doing this. Therefore, it's going to get better. And then once again, expand that. Maybe do it with push-ups. Maybe do it when you're speaking with someone. So instead of thinking about what you want to say next, just listen, just be there, you know. But this is how I can see this um, everywhere. And that's what I was just writing about for my kids and saying, you know, even if you don't know what someone's saying in English, you can still, you know, have a posture that lets them know that you're listening and trying to listen. And if you're aware of that, then it can help them to be more aware of the fact that you might not understand. So therefore, communication issues won't hopefully arise. And you won't be nervous thinking, oh my goodness, I have no idea what this person is saying. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm going to close down and just, nod my head and walk off like my son was doing. And so instead of now, he actually is open up and really focused on presenting himself in a way that shows that he is listening and he's concentrating on what they're doing, and he's not holding his breath being nervous. He's trying to be, calm with his breath when he's doing it. And so that's really helped him a lot. And again, it's an example of like starting small and then expanding outward, and hopefully he can take that to the next level. And for example, when he has to give a speech in front of people in English, it could help him. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but these are the things that I think about. Is, I mean, posture, breath, and mindset. Just, I'm not exaggerating. Like every single day, I'm thinking about that, and it's just, for me, it's also helped as well.
Yeah, I like as well. I think the fact that you were saying like, it's essentially you're building presence into your day,
Yeah,
but you can build it into anything. So it's not like, oh, I
right.
don't have time to meditate. It's like you're walking to the
Now,
shop, you're doing, you know.
exactly, and that's what it is. And you're meditating all the time, which to me is kind of cool. Um, this morning I was up at 4:45, and my daughter has cross country practice that starts at 5:15. And so we're up at 4:45 and out the door, and I drop her off at the high school. And the high school has this lovely, like amazing track for track and field that anyone can use. It's open to the public. And every morning I've been taking my dog with me as well. And so when my daughter is at the track, I walk. Today, I'll run 2 days a week, and then the rest of the days I'll walk. And so when I walk, though, I don't wear headphones. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm truly trying to use that as a part of my meditation, specifically for me. I look at it as walking meditation. But what am I doing? I'm just focusing on my posture, I'm focusing on my breath, and I'm thinking about not thinking about other stuff is really what I'm doing when I'm doing that. Of course, my dog is going crazy, smelling everything and doing stuff, and it's fine, but it's great. And so I've been using that quite a bit, quite a bit. And
I'd
that's
like to
this
hear your
example. Yeah.
I'd like to hear your advice on because as you're talking there, when I give myself space and I'm focusing on my breath in training or walking around, I'm like, this feels so good. Like, why don't I do this more often? But then I will often get this pressure of like, I need to listen to a podcast or, I don't want to miss anything. So do you have any tips about, because anytime I give myself space, I'm like, why isn't this like ironclad? But then there's always this stuff that seems so important to consume right away. So what would be, I think this is something a lot of people struggle with as well. So I think it'd be helpful if
Right.
you have any tips around that.
So my tip is very similar to how I look at pretty much everything I do right now. I try and cut out as much stuff as possible. So I'm actually not trying to do more. I'm trying to find the things that like truly, pardon me, um, keep me engaged. So this is why I don't watch the news. I just don't. I personally, so we don't even have a TV at my house. Nowadays, it doesn't matter because you have your smartphone or your tablet or something, you can watch the news. But I have no desire to watch the news, whether it be in the United States, Europe, Japan, anywhere. I'm only going to focus on the things that I know that are going to help me for what I want to do in my life. That's it, period. So if it's GMB, then I will choose things. I will choose things that will help me to be better for what I need to do for GMB. An example is um, yesterday, I actually was looking up, it's video related, okay? And it really doesn't matter what it was. But basically, there was something with the videos I wanted to be able to do better. And so rather though than like get sucked into the wormhole of YouTube, I said, I'm going to find a single video and I'm going to watch it and I'm going to try it and done. And that was it. And so what I'm really trying to say is we can feel that we need to just consume, consume, consume. But honestly, the most important thing isn't that understanding and the knowledge. It's the application and the practice of that knowledge. And so this is why I'm very big into, especially with my martial art, with my striking and my grappling, not more techniques. If anything, cut out as many as possible. And I want to look at patterns. I want to look at patterns that overlap. And I'm looking at the concepts behind those patterns so that rather than trying to learn more techniques and gather all these things, I'm simply giving myself concepts to focus on and the things happen. And so, therefore, for example, knowledge and things like that, we can get into this routine of thinking that we need more for everything. When, as I mentioned again for the second time, just do the thing. Do the thing. Like it's like you're listening to this podcast right now, okay? And great. But after this, don't go on to another podcast. Take the posture, the breath, and the mindset and go put it into practice. Whatever you decide to do, do it. And the only way that we get better as humans is to do the thing. That's it. And so take that one single piece of information that you have and apply it and get really good at it. And then move on to the next instead of gathering so much information that you're kind of just like, oh, there's this, there's this, and there's this. What I really like to do is simply stack. So once I really have that next foundation of whatever that thing is, I'm walking. I brought awareness to my posture. My breathing is solid. It's natural. I'm able to actually walk and feel the ground and feel what my body's doing without thinking about all the millions of things that I want to try and accomplish during the day. Once you can focus in on what's going on, you got it. Okay, great. Take it to the next thing. So in terms of, coming back to, fear of missing out, okay?
Yeah.
No, I really, I don't want to get sucked into that because it's easy to do. It's very, very easy to do. Instagram is another example of that. So
Or
my
the Instagram
advice,
posts.
the Instagram post, I got to post, I got to post, I got to do this, got to do this. Okay. Yes. I mean, if you have an internet business, then yes, you need to do that. But block your time during your day. Set aside time where you do that and then you're done. Period. You're done. Don't go back and check it 8 times and think, oh, I really should have said this, instead of that. No, it's done. Walk away from it. Okay. And then take that experience that you just learned and apply it to the next thing that you do. But don't just think you should go back to something and keep doing it. And so that's, again, I block time for my day and I'm pretty darn good at keeping that. And
Is that
like
something
I
you've
said,
built up, Brian? That kind of, because it's a
oh,
mental
absolutely. Like
resilience thing.
like everything that you do, you've got to do that. You've got to build up to do that to create good habits. And maybe this is a topic for another time is how do you remain consistent? How do you build consistency? And to be honest, the answer is make it so simple. Make it so simple. It would be stupid not to do it. And so again, if you're piling tons of stuff on top of yourself, thinking, oh, I've got to do this and this and this. Well, first off, you're not going to do everything. And the other thing is the one thing that you really should be doing is not going to be done as well, unfortunately. And so that's kind of how it works. And so whether it be my exercise, whether it be um, again my grappling, my instructor actually in grappling when I got my brown belt told me, okay, you've learned all this stuff up until now. Cut out the majority of it that does not serve you. And I think really that's the most important thing is whenever you look at something, ask yourself, does this serve me? If it doesn't serve you, then cut it out. You don't need it. You just don't need it.
Mhm.
Find the thing that you want to do, you need to do, and just make it really easy to start. And then just show up and do it. And then just show up and do it. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's
Yeah,
simple.
to
It's
get to that
simple. And
level, to get to that level of like being able to, I think that like getting knowing what to focus on. So you were saying about like looking for patterns, but let's just say
yes,
someone is like, okay, they're literally they're not a coach, they're not, so
right.
everything is kind of noise. What advice would you have for someone like that where they're like, I don't even know how to look, I don't even know how to find a pattern, never mind like decipher what I should
Good,
be doing.
good question. But this is where the awareness comes in. Because if you truly take a step back and you just examine your life, there are patterns. Okay. Oh, I wasn't able to do my workout today. Okay, that's cool. You know, then the next day that happens, and the next day that happens. But if you step back and you say, oh, the reason I wasn't able to do that is because every single morning when I get up, the first thing I do is I look at Instagram and I realize I get sucked in there. And then I'm on there for like 15 minutes. Well, okay. How about instead? How about instead you leave your phone just 15 minutes of your life, okay? Like wake up, do your morning business real quick in the toilet if you need to, and then just literally just go out and walk for 15 minutes. It could just be 5 minutes. That's it. That is it. Chances are, if you walk for that 5 minutes, it's going to turn into 10. And it's kind of like a push up. You have people who say, well, I'm going to do 100 push ups every single day for a month. No, you're not. No, you're not. If you've never done push ups really before and you say you're going to do 100 push ups a month every day, then it's not going to happen. For one, you know, if you're only doing 10 or 15 or even 20 good push ups, that means the remainder of your push ups are bad. So you're practicing bad push ups, majority of bad push ups. The other thing is that that number is pretty high, really high. And there's going to be a day where you're just like, oh, I'm just so tired. I don't think I can get my 100 push-ups. And you don't get your 100 push-ups and you feel like a bad person or something. And then you're like, well, crap, you know, I missed it today. What's the point of going on? But instead, if you were to say, and this is going to sound really silly, if you were to say, I'm just going to do one push-up a day, sounds super silly. But if you say, I'm going to do one push-up a day, you can do one push-up. But as I mentioned with that walk, probably not just going to do one push-up. You're going to do more than one push-up, hopefully. But the thing is you hit your goal of what you wanted that day and you're building a habit. And that's actually more important than the number of push-ups that you do because it's simply a matter of consistency. Because if you only do one push-up a day and you're consistent for a month, well, that's probably more push-ups than you would have done anyway had you, you know, not done anything. So there you go. And so a lot of people, for example, let's say just cardio, a lot of people might poo-poo on walking. But if you were to set it up where you only walk 20 minutes a day, just 20 minutes a day, start off with 5, work your way up to just 20 minutes a day. Over time, that is a lot of cardio that you've done. And so it's not a matter of like thinking you're just going to throw something in there and do as much as possible. It's again, how simple can you make something so that you can simply be consistent? That's how I learned Spanish. That's it. That is all I did. I didn't wake up and say, I'm going to do 4 hours of Spanish study. Heck no. I was simply consistent. And so, when we're in Spain, I was able to
Yeah.
converse with people, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not magic at all. And so the stuff that I do is simply a matter of me showing up, stepping on the mat, knowing exactly what I'm going to do the thing, and then leaving. That's it. Okay. Um, other little things in there, have a plan. But again, if you set up that plan, I'm going to do one push up. Cool. Go do one push up. Cool. You're done. That's it. You keep it so simple that you know that you can do it. Then the other side of that is from time to time, really push yourself, give yourself a challenge. And this is something from my, living in Japan for so long, they call it misogi. It's actually kind of, I've heard this other places, it's kind of a coin phrase recently, but it just basically means do something so difficult you don't think you're going to be able to complete it, but just make sure that you do it in a safe manner. And so um, then that way it takes you out of comfort zone. And this is actually how I train all the time now. I'm moderate the majority of time. And the thing is because I just every single day I'm consistent, that moderate level increases. And so if you were to look at it at the beginning of the year here, even though I'm just being moderate, it's doing this. And if you were to look back over the end of the year. And so that's what I'm after. It's kind of like cooking, if you cook the frog and you just start and it's in cold water and you just slowly, slowly turn up the heat. I know it's a horrible image, but frog doesn't even know. He's like, it's starting to get warm. This feels good. Okay. And that's really what we're after. We can look at it just doing that. And so, with everything though, it's how are you doing it? Have you brought awareness into it? And waking up the next morning and saying, all right, don't go crush it. There's no reason to go crush it. Just say, hey, this is a part of my day. I've scheduled this in there before I get on Instagram or whatever. I'm going to go do the thing. You do it and you're done. Man, that's it.
Yeah.
And then things just start building from there. And I actually don't do a whole lot of stuff. That's the other thing I mentioned earlier is I've cut out so much stuff in my life. So much. If it does not serve me, I try and cut it out. As a family man, there are certain things like I don't cut out helping my kids with their homework. Okay. That's something that I don't want to do. They don't want to do it as well, but we do it. But the other thing is I understand that every single evening my kids are going to come and say, hey, I got a question about this. And I say, cool, because I know that that's going to happen. And that's a pattern. That's a pattern. And so that's how you can start to look at, okay, I see a pattern here. I know this is going to eventually happen or whatnot. What do I need to do in order to make sure that that thing either happens or doesn't happen? And that's it. That is it. And so, you know, the way you eat, a pattern. Yeah, I can't eat clean or however you want to say. I can't eat the way that I want to eat because X. Really? I mean, maybe that's true. But if that's a certain pattern that you think that you are able to change, then hey, let's start to make changes, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's just being aware of what's going on, then you see those patterns. So it's not a matter of this is how you look at pattern recognition. No, it's if you just take a step back and you actually think about what you're doing during the day and then look at it over a span of a week, you're going to see a lot of patterns. You end up driving the same way, the same roads to work. You end up walking, or doing the same things in your house, in your apartment, the exact same way. I mean, it's all there. It's just a matter of us taking a step back and really looking at it for what it is. And to me, that's just fascinating.
Yeah, mate. I think like what I love about this is it's just all building self-awareness. And then you're looking at like environmental constraints. So you're like,
Yes.
your pattern, well, Okay, I want to train in the morning, but I never have time. Okay, self-reflection. I'm on Instagram in the morning, so that's killing all my time. So, okay, after a week, how about I get rid of the phone? And then I'm overcommitting with the exercise. So I'm just going to focus on doing one push-up. So
Right.
you're manipulating the environment, you're undercommitting, and then you're focusing on the breath, the posture, the mindset when you're
Right.
doing your day-to-day activities. It's a really nice, it's like a self-awareness model you've just kind of outlined there.
And I will say thing on exercise, a lot of people think that you need to be doing a lot, but as I mentioned before, a little bit every day adds up to a lot in the long run. It really does. If you were to do two sets of a particular exercise, and that's it, and go to the point where you're not killing yourself, but you're just challenging yourself a little bit. Over time, man, I tell you what, the gains you can make, okay, are crazy. And the cool thing about that is you could literally do that every single day if you are just simply looking at it as a slight challenge, moderate, instead of just killing yourself each time or something. You could, and you just show up every day and you just do that. Man, the changes you can make are huge. I know because that's just, I've seen it. And so that's why I think simplicity is just the best practice.
Do you want to talk about that as well, or do you want to leave that for today? The consistency.
Consistency, let's jump into that next time.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
yeah, for
something,
sure, man.
that we could, I could go even deeper into, which give more examples. Yeah, which would be fun.
Awesome, man. Great, man. Let's wrap it up there then.
All
Cool.
right. Thank you.